Welcome. How you guys doing today? It is April 7th. This is the Neuro Affirming Conversation Hour for Outreach and Support. I am your host, and I hope everybody's doing good today. I hope that your week went well. I know that in my household, it was spring break, so I took my girls on a little trip. But just for a day or two. It was good stuff. So I hope that you're doing well today, and I'm really glad that you're here. April 7th, 2025. Whether you're tuning in today from a busy day or a quiet moment of rest, this space is for you, exactly as you are. So welcome. Let's start today with a quote, as always. And today's quote is from one of my favorite writers. Actually has studied this man's literature on his front porch in the house that he wrote Huckleberry Finn. So never put off until tomorrow what can be done the day after tomorrow. And that quote is from Mr. Mark Twain. And look, Twain may have been joking, but on April 7th, we're not. So welcome to Nachos, the Neuro Affirming Conversation Hour for Outreach and Support, where we remind you that sometimes not doing something is the most radical move you can make. And today is National No Housework Day. And no, it's not just an excuse to be messy, though you absolutely can be. This holiday, started in the 80s by columnists Ruth and Thomas Roy, is an open invitation to press pause on the endless cycles of domestic chores. Cleaning, scrubbing, folding, vacuuming, organizing. And today, just breathe. So even though I have already engaged in some household chores, I do understand that some people, myself included, see the difference between chores, housework, and what we call kind of care tasks. And so even though today requires no chores, no housework, still take care of those care tasks. Drink your water, take your meds. All right? Those aren't chores. That's self-care. So today, no dusting, no laundry. No, I'll just tidy this one thing. You get to stop. Not because your to-do list is done, but because you matter more than your output. Let me say that again. It is not because your to-do list is not important. And it is not because those things will get done otherwise. But it's because you matter more than your output. It's a reminder that housework is labor, often invisible, undervalued, gendered, and often unpaid, always unpaid, and it can drain us physically and emotionally, spiritually as well, especially for caregivers, women, disabled folks, and anyone holding it all together in the background. So today, don't clean the baseboards, read a book, lay down, call a friend, do absolutely nothing if that's what your body and brain need. This is your permission slip to rest without guilt. Because rest isn't just a break. It's a part of a bigger shift in how we think about support, inclusion, and what people really need to thrive. That's exactly what Nachos is all about. Creating a space to affirm different ways of thinking, processing, and being in the world. When we pause to honor our needs, we also start to question the system that ignores those needs or even punishes those needs. And that's where the deeper conversation begins. The theme of Nachos, the Neuro Affirming Conversation Hour for Outreach and Support, is rooted in the idea that honoring neurodiversity starts with listening, understanding, and reshaping how we communicate and support one another. Nachos is a space where conversations center the lived experiences of both neurotypical and neurodivergent people, but especially neurodivergent people. It challenges the one-size-fits-all norm, and it imagines alternatives that actually work for real brains in the real world. It's not about fixing people. It's about fixing a system that excludes those people. So this directly connects with, if you're a student of mine in my college class, this directly connects to your assignment. You're asked to reimagine accessibility through micro-accommodations. Micro-accommodations, those small little changes. Doesn't have to be disability. Any way that you can make the world better. This asks students to notice where the world isn't built for everyone and propose small but meaningful changes. Nachos and the assignment both ask the same question. Who is this space really designed for? Who gets left out? And how can we make it better? Whether it's the sensory overload of a classroom, the rigid structure of a workday, or the unspoken expectations of social situations, both the podcast and the assignment push us to identify and address those barriers through thoughtful, inclusive, human-centered design. Another core overlap is the shared belief that small changes make a big difference. Nachos emphasizes that even tiny shifts like dimming fluorescent lights, offering flexible deadlines, or just clearer language can radically improve someone's experience. This assignment uses the same logic. Micro-accommodations don't have to be expensive or dramatic to be effective. They just need to acknowledge that people move through the world in different ways. And then respect those differences. Don't resist those differences. Micro-accommodations acknowledge, respect, and then accommodate them. At its heart, both this podcast and your assignment are about reimagining what support looks like. They challenge the idea that inclusion is about charity or compliance. Instead, they frame accessibility as care, community, and creativity. By engaging with Nachos and completing this assignment, students are learning to see the world through a neuro-affirming lens, one where everyone belongs not just because they conform, but because the environment finally flexes to meet them. So before I get into an assignment overview, I just want to remind people that next week, Wednesday, on campus at noon in K Building 014, I will be holding that lecture. We'll be looking at the myths of autism. It is Autism Awareness Month, Autism Acceptance Month, Autism Empowerment Month. And I will be speaking at the college campus at noon, K014, but I'll also be speaking at the Genesee District Library Grand Blanc branch the night before at 6 p.m. Likewise, not the same lecture, but a very related lecture at the end of the month. That date is the 25th of April, and I'll be speaking on kind of education, neurodiversity in education and in the workplace, and how we can, and this is an international conference, and it's also a free conference. So check out the information on my website, humanities101.org, for more information, or message me. And that conference is the second annual International Autism Summit, I believe it's called. And there's some information on my LinkedIn, so you can follow the links from Humanities 101 and check out the announcement on my LinkedIn page. So hopefully I will see some of you there. Now, so getting back to this assignment, at its core, this assignment is about paying attention. Now, this is the kind of deep, intentional attention that Nachos is built around. Just like our conversations in this space, this project invites you to slow down, notice the hidden barriers in everyday life, and think critically about how we can make the world more supportive and inclusive, especially for neurodivergent people and other marginalized communities. So I want you to think, you're being asked to identify a real world situation, a real world space, or a real world system that doesn't work well for everyone. Now, obviously, every space doesn't work well for everyone. But I want you to think creatively. I want you to look around in your own life and in your own situations. Maybe it's overwhelming. Maybe it's confusing. Maybe it's physically inaccessible. Or maybe it's just not well designed. Maybe it's not well designed with certain people in mind. Then I want you when you think about this, using what we've discussed in these lectures, these weekly meetings, and in your course reading, which is what is it? Academic ableism. The course text, which is free in both text form and in audio text form, so you have no excuse not to access that course text and listen and or read that text so that you can learn about these things. But when you use those things discussed in those chapters, discussed in this class, and discussed in this podcast, you'll come up with a micro accommodation, a small, low-cost solution that can actually be implemented to improve access and inclusion. One of the examples that I use all the time is a set of earplugs that I got at a hotel in Cleveland when I was doing a speaking engagement there to a group of county executives. And they were near the airport and by the train tracks, and they simply set out a fishbowl of headphones with a little note letting everyone know why they do that they acknowledge the sound sucks, and here are some headphones to make it suck a little less. And that's what this assignment is about. It isn't about huge overhauls. It's not about abstract theory. It's about practical change rooted in empathy, human-centered designed thinking, and lived experience. This is what people in the world outside of academia and some of us inside academia call the user experience. UX. It's about realizing that accessibility isn't a special feature, it's a mindset. One that centers on the question, who isn't this working for, and what can we do differently to address that? So your project, all right, whether an essay or a video, should feel grounded, imaginative, and personal. This is your chance to use what you've learned in Humanities 101 and throughout this semester in these spaces and nachos to reimagine the world one small shift at a time. Because sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is recognize that the normal way isn't working, and we can offer something better. So take a breath if your brain is buzzing with ideas, or maybe if you're just feeling a little overwhelmed after me discussing this, that's okay. This assignment isn't about perfection. It's about paying attention. Having the patience to pay attention to someone other than yourself, to think critically about their situation, and to stay curious about how you can make that situation better. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to care enough to ask the right questions. That's what we're practicing together here every Monday morning at 9 a.m. What we're practicing is being more human with each other, more aware, and more intentional in how we show up. And speaking of showing up, how are you doing today? Not your to-do list, not your productivity score, you. How are you doing today? Let me know in the chat. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs down. Let me know how you're doing now, today, right here. Because it's National No Housework Day, and we're officially reminding you to skip the sweeping, leave the laundry, and unapologetically not hustle. This holiday might sound like a joke, but it carries a real message. Remember that rest is valid. Housework, especially the invisible and the repetitive, is labor. And choosing not to do it for one day is a small way to challenge the idea that we always have to be on, that we always have to be hustling, that we always have to be going. Here at Nachos, we talk about a lot of neuroaffirming practices, and rest is one of them. Sometimes the most supportive thing we can do for ourselves or even someone else is to create a space of stillness, softness, or even nothing at all. If your brain needs quiet, if your body needs to slow down, this day is your invitation to do so. No guilt, no explaining, just rest. Because you deserve it. So wherever you are, whatever your schedule looks like, find a pocket of time today to do less. Lay down, zone out, text someone who makes you laugh, or just exist without trying to improve, clean, or fix anything. Because let's be honest, you're not falling behind on anything. You're reclaiming your energy, and that, honestly, is revolutionary. So thank you for spending time with me today. Remember that we will be back next week, 9 a.m. Eastern, here on YouTube. But before you go, here's your reminder. You're not a machine. You don't owe anyone constant output, perfect focus, or emotional stability on demand. In a world that tries to squeeze productivity out of every second, choosing rest isn't laziness, it's resistance. Choosing self-care isn't indulgence, it's survival. Choosing self-grace, especially when your brain or body moves differently, is a radical act of compassion. So give yourself permission to slow down, unplug, take care of your nervous system, say no, cancel plans, breathe. Remember that you're not behind, you're just human, and that's enough. Because in a world that commodifies your energy, your attention, and your very well-being, rest is revolutionary. So until next time, take care of yourself and each other. And remember, in a world that demands your grind, your rest is a rebellion. Stay rebellious.